Hello, welcome back to VeggiePlot. Up on the allotment this afternoon. It's been one of those amazing, glorious weeks, hasn't it? If you're in the UK, especially down here in Cornwall, we've just had wall-to-wall sunshine all week, but it's all going to end tomorrow. So I've come up to the plot tonight. I'll spin you around. You can see, I don't know, maybe that sun didn't catch, but it's really glorious and coming to the end of the day. Anyway, I've come up today because I wanted to get this plot sorted out. So I've weeded all the beds, which is quite exhausting. I've planted out my garlic, which was languishing at home in these little square cell trays. So I've got them out of there and put them into the bed here. So they're all in, a little bit small. Not quite sure how well they're going to do, but anyway, they're in there. We've done the rest of the beds here. We've got the artichokes, celery, don't know what that'll do. Leeks, a lot of them to come out, which is good. And then we've got some peppermint chard here in the middle and some regular chard here all growing. So that's all coming to the end really. Got some lovely stuff in the polytunnel, which is looking really nice. So yeah, I might cut to that and show you that, but yeah. Flower bed still to do. Lavenders are coming on okay, which I planted last year if you remember, but this whole bed needs to be done. I've had a bit of a fight with the shed. I had to get all this cardboard out because I've been working really hard up on the other allotment. I was going to give it up, but I've decided not to. What the committee have let me do is cover half of it in weed fabric and just sort of let that rest for a year. And then the other half has got my dahlias in, fruit bushes, soft fruit and stuff like that. So that's all good, but I've got the paths to do. I've got some wood chip and now I've got some cardboard out the shed. So we had a little fight, me in the shed, to get all this out. So I'm going to take this home and I'll do the other paths on that allotment. So that'll be around for another year or so. I've still got some onions to plant out. These are Senchu yellows. They've got to go in. I'm just going to do them in a minute, but I've weeded all the beds. I've got a couple of leeks, sort of rogue leeks that were just like growing in here, tiny, but I'll take them home with me. Yeah, so that's where we're at. But the main point of this video is to talk about tomatoes for this year. I've got 36 varieties, or 34. I'm doubling up on a couple of Alice's Dream and Honeycomb, so I'm doubling up on those two, but the others I've got about 36 varieties plus 2 trailing varieties. One's more of a bush, but yes, they'll be in the polytunnel. So what we'll do is we'll cut to that and we'll go and have a look through all the tomatoes that we're going to be growing this year. Before we get on and plant up the tomatoes, I was just going to sort of talk a little bit about plant labels, because obviously all these white plastic labels aren't really good for the environment if you just use them once. So there are 2 ways to help with that. First is make sure you get UV resistant plant labels, which you can buy online. If you don't, they're very brittle and they just snap after a year. So this is something I bought a few years ago and I don't use anymore. But then these I got last year and they're really good. They're just enough room to write on and they're UV resistant, which is great. But also they have 2 sides to them. One side is sort of smooth and glossy, and well, not really glossy, but just smooth. And the other side has a slight texture to it, which means you can write on it in pencil. And that is by far the best way I've found to write on labels. I know some people have done videos on what's the best thing to write on your labels, and you can use sort of permanent pens and chalk and and pencil. So I would always advise use pencil. It's really easy to remove, and that means then you can use it year after year, or use them year after year. So I was just going to show you a quick way to do that now. It's really efficient, really easy to do, and basically means you get all your labels and you can just use them for a good few years, I should think. Okay, so the first things you're going to need obviously is a bowl. It's a bit of washing up liquid in, and then put all your labels in with all the writing on, all the pencils on, a bit dirty, into a bowl and give them a good shake around. And then basically if you just hook one out and then using a sponge, just a standard sponge, just give it a little clean to start with, both sides. That gets rid of a lot of the algae and takes a little bit of the pencil off. dip it back in the water, and then just using a white rubber, this is something like a Stettler rubber, I just put it on the surface and give it a little rub, and then basically that takes more or less all of the graphite pencil off, and so it's as clean as a whistle. And you can see I've done a whole load of these were done in about 5 minutes or so. Sometimes you get a little bit of graphite left on there, but it's nothing that, you know, when you write your new label dates and details on there, isn't going to be, you know, just covered up, so you won't notice it. So yeah, really easy. Just pop it in the sink, give it a little rub both sides, get some of the algae off, another little dip, get your rubber, and just give it a gentle sort of rub over just a few times, dip it back in to wipe the rubber off, and you're good to go. So that's the way I do it. I've got several lots here, some old ones which are no good, the brittle ones, but yeah, these which are all UV resistant will clean up really well, and I should be able to use these for a good few years. Then all we need to do at the end is just put them on a tea towel, just give them a little dry, and they're ready to go. Right, let's get on and label these tomatoes. That's what I want to do now, and then we'll head down the polytunnel and start sowing some seeds. Right, I'm just doing the tomato list. I've made a list on my phone here. I don't know if it picks up. Anyway, they're all there. So I'm writing out the labels. As soon as I've done this, yeah, we'll head off down to the polytunnel. Here we are in the polytunnel. So as I said earlier, I've got quite a few tomatoes to grow this year. I think 36 different varieties. Some are from last year, from my top 10, which I'll always try and grow. Some sort of sneak in there a bit more than others. But yeah, I've been sent some seeds from Robin Gardens, Danny at Grow Up, and Rowena all sent me some new seeds for tomatoes. So really excited to try all of these. I mean, our previous ones, I've got a list here on the phone. I've got Summer of Love. Now, Summer of Love last year came in really late, but actually I think they were easily as good as Alice's Dream, if not a bit better, a bit more richness in flavour. So I'm going to be growing 2 of those plants this year. Then we've got Alice's Dream, we've got Lucid Gem, which is gorgeous, sort of luminescently orange and yellow tomato, sweet and sort of a bit of savoury in there. We've got Cuban Salami, that's a new one. I'd be really interested to know what you think of that, Danny, and also Robin, when you grow those seeds. Rebel Starfighter Prime, beautiful big multicoloured tomato, all sorts of flavours going on there. Pink Barclay tie-dye, a really good Heirloom cropper, big beefsteak, P20 Beauty King, yeah, another gorgeous coloured orangey tomato. Amish Sherbet, really big yellow beefsteak. Don't get many on the vines, but I'm going to try. Actually, this year, that's what I'm doing this year. I'm splitting all my tomatoes. They're all going to have the tips nipped out, and I'm going to grow them from two leaders from 2 side shoots. So hopefully we'll get more tomatoes that way. Michael Pollan, green tomato, really delicious, sweet. You wouldn't think it from a green tomato, but really well worth trying. Sun Gold Select. Right, let's grab some packets and seeds. So Sun Gold Select I grew last year, and they were from, the seeds originally from She Grows Veg, and they're a lovely little orange tomato. They're not as sweet as Honeycomb, but they're slightly bigger, and yeah, nice nonetheless. And you get quite a lot on the trusses on the vines, so I should be growing Sun Gold Select. And what else have we got? Cherokee Carbon. Now this one was sent to me by Robin, and yeah, these are those seeds. So really looking forward to trying these. These are supposed to have really great flavour, and I've read some good reviews on those. I've got Tim's Taste of Paradise, which I believe is a very small yellow cherry. It's supposed to be delicious. I think that was bred by Brad Gates Wild Boar Farms. Have to correct me if I'm wrong. We've got Fuego Rosa, King Kong, Orange Russian, Madalena, Dwarf Antho Pink Panther. Aren't these glorious names? Burkas Blue, Tundra, Hawaiian Pineapple. I'm sorry I don't have pictures for these, but they're you can just look. I'll put the list up now, which you can see. and you can just go and Google them and you'll just see the variety of them. But I haven't got any images of them because I haven't grown them yet. I do have some here which Rowena very kindly sent to me. These here, and these are Hawaiian pineapple tundra, so you can see there's some very interesting looking tomatoes on there. But yeah, I advise you go and Google them and have a look. And then I've got a couple of small cherries. One I grew last year was Cherry Falls, which is this one, and this did really well. It was like the first tomato to crop. Loads and loads, hundreds I would say, of little red cherries. They were okay flavour actually, they were okay. They weren't, you know, the best tomato I've had compared to some of the heirlooms, but they were okay. And then this is a new one sent to me by Marshall's, Montello F1, so I'm going to try that as well. And these will probably be up in the greenhouse. It's just a whole variety this year, so I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into at least 20 or so new varieties. Okay, right, I brought over the pots. Now these are all from the Super 7s. So these are the little trays for Super 7s. I'm just going to put 4 tomatoes per tray, really simple, and then yeah, then they can grow reasonably big before I have to chop them up and pot them on. But yeah, so that's the idea. I'm just using multi-purpose compost. I'm just going to fill the trays and pop the seeds in and label them. Right, let's just put all these out the way for a minute. Pop my gloves on. I do like these gloves. I think I bought them in a local garden centre. They're made by Briers, but they've got like a woolly liner, so they're not 100% waterproof, obviously, but they enable you to grip things, but also keep your fingers nice and warm, your hands warm in the winter. So if you ever, you know, get cold hands on the allotment, it's worth getting something like, you know, like these gloves. Okay, so I'm just going to fill these trays just with some compost. Get another tray, just squidge that down, and I'm just going to make a little hole and then put the seeds in, sprinkle a bit on the top, label them, put them in the tray and water them, and then yeah, they can all go back in the Super 7s. I'm sort of going to stagger them. I think that'll be better. Just like that. So first one's first. I'm just going to pop them all in actually as they go, and then yeah, catch you at the end when they're all finished. Right, that's got most of the tomatoes done. I actually haven't brought all the seeds with me, some of them are back at the office, so yeah, I can't plant all of them, but yeah, it's a good selection in here I think, so quite a few done. But I also now want to get in some vegetable seeds, and I've got quite a few to go in. Yeah, where to start? Last year, I don't even remember, I grew some cauliflowers. Now, I've grown all year round before, but they've never worked for me. So I went for some F1 Seol last year, and they were absolutely fantastic. And these are the seeds. I'm just going to sow some of these again. I'll try and cut to some video footage of it, but they were gorgeous, really big, pristine white heads, you know, curds. They were just brilliant. So cauliflower Seol, they're good. I had some wonderful cabbages as well. They were Virtus, a type of Savoy cabbage, and these are the seeds, Durée. Quite cheap seeds, Durée, aren't they? But yeah, so I'm going to grow some of them, and also some of these red cabbage, Cabeza Negra, because these do quite well for me too. So I've got those 3 to put in. I've also grown kale before. I don't know if you've grown kale, but I've got yeah, Black Magic and Cavallo Nero. These seeds are getting a bit old now, so they need to be sown, but they're going to go in. And then last but not least is this. This is Mangelwurzel, which I've heard of but never grown. And it's really similar to like the mandrakes in the Harry Potter movies. You ever seen that? So yeah, Mangelwurzel get really big apparently. Best eaten, really hardy, best eaten when they're about head size or a bit smaller. But yeah, Mangelwurzel, mammoth red. So looking forward to growing that one. I've prepared the trays, so I'm just going to get on and yeah, sow all these now and then get them up on the Super 7s. Right, I've done the peppers, these red peppers. Yeah, the Corno de Toro, these ones, and I've done the Ingrids, but I'm doing the Mangelwurzel now. If you haven't seen these, I thought you might be interested to see the seeds. They're very similar to like a beetroot seed, quite big and quite chunky. So I'm actually going to sow 8 of these. I've no idea if we like them or what they're like, but I've got plenty in there, and they'll last for a few years. That's it for this week, folks. I hope you're having fun this March, sowing and planting out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.